thank you very much for making time to share your insights into the future CFO. But before we go into the future, can you tell us a little bit about your own background? Where did you grow up?
No, sure, Dr. Nick. Thank you very much for having me today on the Future CFO Forum. I am originally from upstate New York, a region north of Manhattan we call the Hudson Valley.
Right. And I assume this is close enough to the Hudson River, right?
It's about 20 minutes from the Hudson River and maybe 1 hour drive north of Manhattan. Maybe a 1 hour drive from my parents' home to the George Washington Bridge.
Okay. And tell us, Mark, what was your dream career when you grew up?
My dream career, like a lot of young men and women, was to be a professional athlete. I think at every age, Dr. Nick, I was always obsessed with sports, had my favorite sports teams, and certainly a lot of young people. I always wanted to be an athlete, but of course, I'm probably average height, average weight. I don't have the strength, speed, or finesse that, obviously the top athletes in the world have today. So I quickly gave up on that dream at a young age as well, and stayed the path of education and went to university.
Right. And who inspired you in those early days?
You know, I do think my passion for sports, I naturally looked up to a lot of the athletes. So I think I was inspired by athletes. Those watching, I would watch on TV, and I would want to emulate their passion to win, their drive, their dedication to be the best. They always inspired me.
Right. Now, I believe you did your education in marketing and then you completed an MBA, correct?
Yes, background in business in my undergraduate studies, and did an MBA with a concentration in finance.
Right. And then you started your career in financial services at Fidelity.
I did. Fidelity, probably not very well known outside the US, maybe in the UK, but more or less a household name in the United States. Managing billions and billions of dollars for corporations, individual investors, retirement plans, very well household name in the financial services industry in the United States. That is where I started my career out of university.
Right, and then you went to Kazakhstan to join the Peace Corps. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience on that side of the world?
Absolutely. So I made a choice. I recognized that the fact that my career in financial services was not what I saw myself doing in the long run. I knew I was looking for a career change, and the opportunity to join the U.S. Peace Corps was something, if I was going to do it, that was the time to do it. And so I jumped at the opportunity to join the U.S. Peace Corps, was sent to northern central Kazakhstan, where I was posted for 2 years, and had an opportunity to share my knowledge, my experience, my education by teaching at a university, teaching very much about the capital markets, teaching about economics, which was actually a passion of mine and my second study within university. Right. So I think in summation, the U.S. Peace Corps gave me an opportunity to do some knowledge transfer, teach, but also learn quite a bit about myself and others and other cultures and how to work more effectively with people in various cultures.
And then I believe when you came back to the US, you went into IT with Oracle.
I did. So came back to the US, and the .com bubble was really just emerging. I mean, really the internet was just coming to life. And we had companies that actually Netscape as a company, the first real browser provided on the internet, actually went public as a company while I was still working at Fidelity. But 2 years later, the birth of the internet really just begun, and I jumped into the technology bandwagon. I started working in technology, working for some .coms before joining Oracle Corporation and embarking on my what's been a 20 plus career, primarily in sales in the technology industry.
So what attracted you to the travel industry, seeing that you after Oracle, you joined Expedia.
I did. So I was with Oracle, and the group business unit that I was a part of was the Oracle decided they were going to disband the business unit I was a part of. So it had an opportunity to either look internally within Oracle for other opportunities or outside. And I think I was actually contacted by Expedia by chance, and they were embarking on a new business themselves, a new offering to bring what we know as Expedia.com really into the corporate world. And so for me, even at that time, it was a no-brainer. In my world, my generation, I never have any desire to pick up the phone and actually talk to an agent. I would rather book my travel personally online by myself. And so with that type of offering, it made sense to me. I thought it was an incredible opportunity for Expedia, an opportunity for me to find an incredible, join an incredible, well-known company, established company at the time, a technology leader in that space, and have an incredible opportunity to provide value to corporations, corporate buyers around North America at the time.
Right. And then I believe around 2006, Concur approached you.
They did. At that point, I'd worked for Oracle for a few years, actually SAP for a year, and had been with Expedia in the corporate travel industry for 3 years. And I was approached by Concur, and I ultimately decided to join them. The timing couldn't have been better.
And recently, Forbes rated Concur as one of the most innovative growth companies in the world. Can you give us a few insights into what has made Concur into the industry leader today, and maybe also what were your highlights ever since you've joined Concur?
Great question. So when I joined Concur in 2007, there were approximately 600 employees. And from that point forward, the company has been in an incredible growth trajectory. Shortly after I joined Concur, and part of the interest in me as a candidate from Concur at the time was that Concur, up until 2007, was a provider of expense automation in the cloud, a software as a service provider. And there's some value in that, certainly, but not, you can argue maybe not a tremendous amount of value from an on-premise world in itself. And shortly after I joined the company, they introduced what the world now considers best practice, which was end-to-end integration of the travel and expense business process. So the founders of Concur at the time had really asked the question, how many people are going to go on a business trip and not expense it, right? Does anybody ever go on a business trip and not expense it? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
And so, and to this day, if we talk to some corporations around the world, you'll find that these two business processes are very independent and very often owned by different individuals within a corporation. So when Concur posed that question and unveiled a single platform through which travel could be booked, whether it's over the phone from a traditional corporate travel agency or online by an individual traveler like myself, yourself, and then have that data create the expense report, that shifted the entire industry. And today, how many years later is that? It's considered best practice. So, at Concur today, we get RFPs regularly from companies all over the world, and they're always looking for that best practice. And so, having been there, done it, and have successfully executed over the course of the last 15 years on that vision has put Concur in a place where it's today considered the undisputed market leader globally.
Right.
On a personal level, Doctor, on a personal level, I thought the culture of Concur was incredible. Starting as a smaller company, roughly 600 employees, it was, you could say, more a manageable company. So we had some incredible leaders, incredible thought leaders in both a product visionary and even sales perspective. And they created a culture from the top down where we had everybody really on the same page, from the founder, CEO of the company to the individual contributors just joining the company. Everybody was on the same page. Everybody was on board, embraced the concept of helping each other succeed, deliver value to the customers, ensuring that we set the right expectations for the customers, and ensuring that we made sure the customers derived the value from the platform that they expected. And there was a very strong culture internally that was put a lot of personal development, professional development of the individual that joined the company. And I think that's made it an incredible special place that we still have today as part of SAP Concur.
Right. And Mark, looking back over your career, would you say there was a major turning point or maybe a number of turning points where things could have gone different, but you decided to take your career in a certain direction?
Well, I think SAP Concur was probably the biggest turning point, and the company reinvented itself. I think that's what's been special about SAP Concur is on the journey. And if you look at the company over the 25 years that SAP Concur has been in business, the company has found a way to reinvent itself every few years. And as part of that journey, the part of it that I've been on with SAP Concur for the last 13 years, I think the company's provided me an opportunity to reinvent myself. So when I joined the company, I was an individual contributor, and the company afforded me the opportunity, the resources, the people around me so that I can enhance my own skill set as an individual contributor, develop myself both professionally and personally. The company's growth gave me an opportunity to step in a leadership role. And once again, as a leader, I've had the resources, the people around supporting me, mentors, coaches, management that have helped me develop skills that I did not have in previous lives or previous roles. And I've taken the opportunity SAP Concur has afforded me to go globally and provide value to others in the workplace that I can carry on and extend what I've learned to a whole new generation, a knowledge transfer, experience, mentoring. So that's the opportunity I found myself in now, and it's been a complete journey, both personally and professionally. And the opportunity SAP Concur has provided has put me in a position where I can be a mentor to others and help them achieve goals, aspirations that they have.
So, Mark, what is driving you today?
At this point in my career, Doctor, and again, I feel very fortunate to where I am. I feed off the energy of the millennials within the workplace. That's what's driving me today. I really enjoy waking up and working with my colleagues. Again, I think probably half the workforce globally is made up of millennials. I wouldn't be surprised if within SAP Concur it was even higher. And I really feed off their energy and enthusiasm and would love nothing more than to see them afforded the opportunities, development, and a success that has been afforded to me.
Now, Mark, talking about the future CFO, how do you expect the role of the CFO to change in the near future, near to medium term future?
Great question. I think the evolution and trajectory of technology requires CFOs today to go beyond managing that traditional financial risks within the company. They are the business owners of big data, and they're going to continue to play a bigger role alongside their IT and operational counterparts, designing and delivering platforms that are going to empower their internal customers with actionable data in near real time so that they can make better informed decisions. They're going to continue to play, I think, a bigger part in working with their counterparts in HR, human resources, to attract and retain the very best talent. Specifically, it relates to financial functions and helping deliver on the business's needs. Additionally, they have to, if they're not already, drive the company's strategy for maximizing digitization efforts, digital technologies to help drive both top and bottom lines. I would add, given the rising volume of cybersecurity incidents, the sensitivity of personal identifiable information, not to mention the various legislative requirements we see popping up around the world, they need to continue to become more invested with their CIO IT counterparts to ensure that they have the coverage in place to mitigate any potential risks, whether it's IT security, third-party vendor selections, the insurance needs of the customer, the company, to protect themselves.
And Mark, looking back over your own leadership journey, what have you learned that you would consider to be the most important qualities for building future leaders and especially future CFO leaders?
I think it's number one, staying curious. Number two, I would say recognizing that regardless of your role, the journey you've been on, where you are personally, professionally, we all are in a place that we have an opportunity to continue to develop ourselves. And don't be afraid to take risks, manage risks, of course. There is so much, I think, to benefit from both professionally and personally by folks staying engaged, staying curious, finding ways to learn more, learn from colleagues, learn from direct reports, learn from third-party resources.
Now, Mark, looking into the future, if you were to design a curriculum for the future CFO, what are the new skills you would want to factor in?
A curriculum for the new CFOs. That's a great question. Curriculum. I mean, certainly they have to have their financial background, doctor. I think they would everyone would agree with that. But I think there's a place in there for corporate risk mitigation, IT at a high level. I think information systems, that would be part of my curriculum. And then I honestly would add a little bit more of a liberal arts twist to it. I think future CFOs have to, they should, in my opinion, read a lot. And I think they should be comfortable reading things outside their domain, things to get them to think differently. And so you can add something in there around traditional history classes and a curriculum around whether it's English or the native language of that individual CFO's market country, learning to read, whether it's fiction or nonfiction.
And in terms of challenges they might encounter, and again, maybe looking back over your own leadership journey, what is your advice for future CFOs? What are the kind of challenges they should expect to encounter in their career?
Well, I think it all starts with the people. The biggest challenge I think anyone faces are derivatives of how they manage relationships, perspectives, whether it's employees, partners, customers, vendors. Future CFOs have to be astute to the needs and desires of others around them and be more collaborative than ever. I saw a very interesting quote the other day about what is a conversation. And a conversation is not an opportunity to speak, but it's an opportunity to listen and learn.
Yeah, that's interesting. So we should be doing a lot more listening.
A lot more listening, absolutely.
And Mark, yeah, sorry.
No, I would just add, Doctor. I think that's a general thing. Everyone, regardless, even future CFOs, I think everyone, all of us, can benefit from is learning to listen better. And when you listen to understand, I think you're more likely to avoid some of the challenges that we all face in our current roles. And I think for future CFOs, that's very pertinent.
Right. And Mark, talking about social media, what would you advise future CFOs? How should they make use and navigate social media to build their own leadership brand?
I am not a social media expert, but I'm continuing to learn how to leverage it myself. And I think one thing we'd all agree on, again, it's an incredibly powerful channel when utilized appropriately. So not only does it provide an opportunity to expand our networks, but also share and consume employer agnostic views, insights, industry trends for which dialogue, debate, and thought leadership can emerge. I think it's incredibly powerful, and I think all future CFOs and myself, and I'm sure yourself, Doctor, we can all continue to learn and how to leverage social media to the best of our ability because it continues to evolve.
So Mark, as a mentor to future leaders, can you maybe share a success story or two where you mentored an upcoming leader and that person took your advice to heart?
I, Doctor, have had the opportunity at the request of some of my peers to mentor a couple of millennials within the workplace over the last couple of years. In neither case were the mentees direct reports of mine, but I can proudly say that one has exceeded her professional goals this past year. And the other one took a leap of faith, a risk, you might say, and decided to pursue a role within another company in another functional area. all in pursuit of his aspirations. So I feel, my mentorship has provided a level of comfort, maybe that individual. Now they've stepped out to the organization, and we're still in touch. The other mentee is, it's a continually evolving relationship, I think, in coaching, developing that individual. And so that individual, actually, she just happened to reach out to me this morning as we've entered the new calendar fiscal year. We're just putting our regularly scheduled calls back on the calendar. And I think it's, again, she's succeeded last year. Her responsibilities are growing, and that mentor-mentee relationship is going to continue to evolve from here.
Are there any role models of leadership or maybe books about leadership that you would recommend future CFOs should study and learn from?
There are a plethora. There are a plethora, and I'm always looking for some myself, Doctor. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know. But I just finished reading The Ride of a Lifetime by the Disney CEO, Robert Iger. Admired as one of the world's top CEOs and leaders. He shares with the readers not only his career trajectory, his first job at a university, but his journey from that point to the role he's in today as CEO. And he cites stories along his journey in which he applies a lot of his principles, which are like compassion, thoughtfulness, integrity. He's very candid about things he probably didn't handle as well as he could have, but it's incredibly insightful when you have a living legend, for lack of a better adjective, who has written very candidly, openly about his rise and some of his learnings. I'd highly recommend that book, as it's pretty much fresh off the press. Maybe it's been out 6 months.
And how can our listeners connect with you, and where should they follow you?
They can find me on LinkedIn and on Twitter, Doctor. And I'm an active reader, consumer of content on both social media platforms, and I'm really still learning to leverage the platform to grow my network and share my thoughts and insights as it relates to my industry or other industries, or things I read that I think others can benefit and learn from. So look for me on LinkedIn, look for me on Twitter. Okay.
Now, last but not least, Mark, is there one thing, maybe one piece of advice that you would really like to convey to future CFOs that they should implement in their own leadership and maybe in their own life?
Great question, Doctor. And I think there's been a lot of thought given to this topic. I don't think at this point in our world, as it's evolved, you can really break work away from your personal life. It's almost as if they're intertwined. So I think, a lot of us admit that I think we spend more time with our colleagues than we do with our own family members, which is unfortunate, but there's no reason that your corporation, your culture of your company can't consider employees as part of the family, extended member of the family. And so I think it's really important for CFOs and any leader to emphasize the corporate culture and help develop that corporate culture to ensure that the folks within the company, regardless of the role, regardless of the way they contribute to the company, that they feel special, they feel that they're part of something, and they feel that their voice is heard, and that they're a critical member to the overall organization's goals. And so defining the culture, defining the values, sharing that with employees, and trying to raise everybody within the organization up on the journey to success, I think is something that should be given a lot of serious time and thought.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wisdom into the future CFO and the future of leadership, and reminding us that it's the heart and core of everything. It's culture and our relationships.
No, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Nick, for having me. I appreciate the time today and look forward to reconnecting in the future.
Thank you.